Welcome everyone to the first KMC-Suite webinar powered by KMC Solutions. We help build offshoring teams in the Philippines for some of the most innovative companies in the world. As you can see, you have a poll right in front of you. We'd love to hear your insights, so please take a minute to complete the poll. Let's take a quick look at our agenda for today. So we have, we'll first start with a quick welcome round to our guest speakers and our hosts, after which we'll get into a panel discussion, and then we'll have an interactive question answer at the end. So please stay tuned. Feel free to type in your questions in the question answer chat. Anytime during the session, we'd love to hear all your questions. And please do share your name and country from where you're joining us from. And thank you once again for joining us today. We are very happy to have you with us. So first up, we have Jack Madrid. I'm very honored to have him with us today. I'd like to take the opportunity to introduce you to him. Don't have to say too much because everybody knows him already, but he is the driving force behind the Philippines IT BPM sector, a champion of Filipino talent and advocate for flexible work with 25 years of experience in strategy and digital transformation. And once again, he's none other than Jack Madrid, President and CEO of IBPAP. We then have with us on our panel, Parry, our CEO, KMC Teams. He has held strategic leadership roles, built and managed high-performance teams for businesses across the globe for over 25 years. Also introducing Ivan, a solid leader with 20 years of experience. He will be sharing with us what he helped successfully set up in the Philippines with the Catch Group. And last but not the least, my name is Namrata, also known as NAMS, and I'm part of the offshoring strategy and partnership teams at KMC. I will also be your moderator for today's webinar. So thank you once again for joining us. So before we start with our actual session, let's take a quick look at some of the poll results, and thank you once again for sharing with us. So the first question was, we wanted to check with you if you have actually engaged in the past with any kind of offshoring initiatives, and I do see about 38% have initiated in offshoring to some degree, and some of you have still not, and 29 have done it extensively. Our second question was, what criteria do you prioritize when you select, when you're looking for an offshoring location? And from the poll, I can see 81% look at competitor labor costs and cost of living index. So that's good to know, validates a few of the things that we already can confirm about this. The third question was, first, was it cost, quality, retention, or growth and expansion when you look at determining effectiveness and success of such initiatives over time? And from the poll results, I do see that 71% of you look at financial metrics and cost savings, while the next 62% look at evaluating service quality and customer satisfaction. So thank you again. That's great insights. We'll be adding and compiling all of these insights in our curated report that you will be getting in a few weeks from us. So now, with further ado, I would like to give Jack a very warm welcome. He will be sharing the latest industry updates and trends for 2024. Thank you so much, Jack.
Thank you, Nams, for the generous intro. And I want to thank both Parry, Ivan, and the KMC team for the opportunity to present the IT BPM industry to all of you. And I want to thank you in advance for considering the Philippines as an offshoring location. And I'm proud to say that, in case you didn't know, that we are a world capital in this space. And have been for quite some time now. But happy to spend the next 10 minutes with with an industry snapshot, if we can move to the next slide, that my team and I have just prepared. We ended 2023 with a 1.7 million strong employee workforce, generating over $35 billion to our economy, one of the largest sources of export revenue and foreign exchange to the country. Our latest estimate is that our industry represents over 8% of our GDP. So clearly, a world leader in the space, on the bedrock of Filipino talent, as well as an opportunity for cost optimization, and more than being a contact center leader, primarily by voice, the industry has impressively expanded and diversified into different distinct verticals, including healthcare. All the U.S. Healthcare companies have established operations here in the Philippines, as well as banking and financial services. But we also have creative industries, such as animation and game development. IBPAP, which is my organization, is the flagship group overseeing the IT BPM industry. We are the collective voice of the community and are responsible for all things that are regulatory, policy shaping, as well as encouraging prospective and existing investors to expand their Philippines footprint. And so we are very much involved with our partners in government and the academia in addressing issues for talent development, infrastructure throughout the archipelago, as well as an industry rebranding campaign to further boost our industry's reputation as a long-term career path to job seekers and incoming university graduates. In addition to this slide, I just want to highlight that the Philippines is the youngest country in Asia with an average age of 25.3. So the demographics certainly are very strong and promising to further grow the IT BPM industry. We can move to the next slide. Some of these I've already discussed, but really the advantage of the Philippines in this space is really the resilience and the agility of our workforce to adapt to new digital channels. We have over 700,000 university graduates per annum. Again, a very strong demographic. And of course, cost optimization continues to remain an advantage. And increasingely, our member organizations view an ESG-driven agenda with sustainability and inclusivity as a core business imperative. And I guess over the years of the pandemic, one interesting silver lining has been really the ability to work in a hybrid environment, since most of our 1+ million workforce had to adapt to a work from home, work from anywhere environment. Of course, at the time, we didn't know what was going to happen. It was certainly no small feat to mobilize over 1 million employees to a work from home environment in the midst of lockdowns and quarantines. But, I guess the rest has become history since the workforce more than proved its capability to work from anywhere without any impact on productivity or customer satisfaction ratings. The work got done, and it further unleashed a new wave of demand for Filipinos to serve our global customers. Next slide, please. The other silver lining has been the fact that IT BPM and offshoring is no longer a Metro Manila or Cebu phenomenon. we have member organizations in every tier 2, tier 3 emerging city and province. So this is nationwide. In fact, in the next 5 years, 54% of our expected growth will be outside Manila. And this has been instrumental to our growth, given the unique talent pools and workspaces and environments that are present throughout from north to south. So this is again, I view an advantage, especially with the improving infrastructure, both digital as well as much improved airports, hotels, and universities in these emerging cities. Next slide, please. Oh, so this is a snapshot of where what we call digital cities have developed, and we have worked with the Department of Information and Communications Technology in identifying these new wave of digital cities. These are broken down here, and these to qualify to be a digital city, each of these locations built with our support their individual roadmap on their plans to provide the appropriate infrastructure and government support for the IT BPM industry. Next slide, please. So these are just some of the initiatives that my organization has worked on in terms of infrastructure, as well as a stronger internet rollout throughout the country. And it's worth noting that aside from all the real estate developers, KMC included, of course, part of our membership have been the telecom players in the country. Both PLDT and Globe and Converge are very supportive of this nationwide rollout. So we can see this further improving in the years ahead. One other thing that is not in the slide before I move to technology is that the current administration has been extremely supportive of our industry, recognizing our role as an economic pillar. We have received good support at all levels, at the national level and including the local level, recognizing our role as a job generator. And in terms of digital skills and the impact of generative AI on our roles, we have worked with AI for quite a number of years now. The workforce has proven itself to be very adaptive to new technologies, but talent development does remain as a key challenge for us to meet our job targets. Our AI narrative is that the majority of jobs will be augmented by Gen AI, although some more repetitive tasks and roles will be that are automatable will have to be reconfigured because of this, and that calls for the urgent need to continue our journey of upskilling and reskilling, right-skilling our workforce to meet the demands of the new technologies that have emerged. Next slide, please. And these are further just more initiatives that IBPAP has taken. We have established our AI Council composed of research, academe, and industry leaders in meeting the challenge and opportunity of AI, and continued collaboration with both traditional and non-traditional learning institutions and government partners to meet the new demands of this new technology. I consider this to be our biggest opportunity and our biggest challenge, given the fact that we have the strong demographic to support the future growth of the industry. Next slide, please. Well, that wraps up my short presentation. I want to thank you again, and especially the KMC team for giving me this opportunity to address this webinar. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Jack. Thank you for sharing your extensive knowledge, expertise, experience, and what fabulous slides. Very, very impressive. And that all certainly confirms that the Philippines has a solid roadmap ahead for offshoring success in the coming years. So I really appreciate, all the information that you're sharing with us. And we'd love to have you again at one of our webinars in the future. So moving on, Parry, our CEO, will now be sharing his experience and insights with us. Parry, over to you.
Thank you, Nams. Morning, everyone. Thank you so much for joining us this morning from across different locations. We really appreciate it. I know everyone's eager to get to the Q&A part, so I'm going to keep this brief. What I thought I would share with you this morning as a follow-up to Jack's presentation is just some of the high-level industry trends that we're seeing in offshoring outsourcing in 2024. Things have moved on. Philippines as a country is now 20 plus years, close to 25 years of doing this. Globally, the outsourcing offshoring space has been in material impact for over 3 decades. So I think what started off as what people called cost arbitrage is now a strategic conversation in boardrooms across the world. And one of the key trends that we are seeing is that the increase in demand will continue, and we'll see a growth in diversified BPO services. And all this is being accelerated by digital transformation. So what I'm trying to say here is it started off as bottom of the pyramid being outsourced. A lot of contact center services, a lot of back office processes were being put into the block and outsourced. But what's going to happen is we're going to see a lot of diversified BPO services. And really, when you think about it, sometimes we interchange BPO with contact centers, which is sort of incorrect because outsourcing here is anything from digital marketing, finance and accounting, legal, IT, HR. And we're seeing a proliferation of that continuing. So I think companies need to stay competitive in this rapidly evolving market, and that will only happen if they take these peripheral tasks that are not core to their business and outsource them to strategic partners. Whether they do it through a model or a different, which I'll talk about later, is agnostic. But I think it's a very relevant conversation in every boardroom now. The second point I want to raise is what I like to call outsourcing for all. We are going to see, and we're seeing an adoption of outsourcing in a higher number by smaller and medium enterprises. Medium enterprises have been doing this for a while, but we'll see small and small to medium enterprises do this even more as a strategy for strategic growth for themselves. Outsourcing services today is not about whether I'm a 20 people company or a 100 people company. What usually used to be, it needs to be thousands, if not hundreds, has gone down to the fact that I'm a doctor's office and I can even have one virtual assistant that can help me from a different part of the world. So I think the boundaries on outsourcing and finding a strategic solution is no longer limited to size, scale of the company or the opportunity. So I think outsourcing for all is something that's here to happen, is happening, and is going to continue to develop. The next point that I wanted to raise with the team is that there is what I want to call curated solutions and outsourcing models for every business. And as we go into the panel and Q&A, I'm sure this will be a question on everyone's mind. What is that best solution for me? And it's not about the solution, because you'll find an ideal partner. You'll find the ideal solution, hopefully in Philippines or globally, whatever works for you. But there is a comprehensive outsourcing model where you can outsource your entire work to a partner. There's the captive model. You can do managed services by outsourcing your payroll and HR services, or you can do an EOR co-sourcing kind of a solution with a partner. But there is a curated solution, a bespoke solution available out there for you, and it's really going upstream and finding that right solution that will make you successful in your journey for finding that outsourcing partner or solution. And last, I think it's the question on everyone's mind. It's been spoken about for a number of years, the rising impact of automation. It is inevitable. It is happening. Jack made a point. It is going to impact maybe the contact center, the back office processes, the repetitive tasks first and more. But I think the other aspect of it is the benefits that will come from it. We think it will augment over replace. It will drive higher customer satisfaction levels. It will drive better accuracy. It will also force a change in the workforce to upskill, which is great for all, because then we'll be able to solve the more complex problems for our customers across the board, give them solutions that will now take the front of the office to middle of the office being the outsourced opportunity area. The payrolls and finance and accounting and digital marketing strategies will come next on the block, which will allow businesses to then focus on their core products. I think it will also lead to a lot of personalized service delivery. So while we are all watching the back for what will be the impact of generative AI and automation, I think we also need to embrace it and adopt it in our business as an overall strategy. So I think I'm going to leave it at that to make time for questions. But if I say to summarize, demand's going to stay. Growth and diversified is for sure. But I think every size company needs to look at curated solutions for themselves to be able to find an extended team across a different location that will give them the BCP, geographic diversification, along with cost effectiveness, obviously. I'm going to stop at that, and Nams, pass it back at you.
Thank you so much. Thanks, Parry. Really, again, insightful shares from you. I'm sure I can see the numbers today in our first webinar going up. So I assume the word spreading that we have a lot of good content and great speakers here. I'll now let Ivan share his experience with us. But before he does, let's just take a moment to look at just a snippet of what an offshoring success story looks like.
Hi, welcome to Catch. My name is Karen. How can I help you today?
Hello to everyone. Thank you for joining us. My name is Ivan Trajkovski. I lead the operations for KMC in Australia. Thank you so much for your time today. Catch is an Australian online e-commerce company founded back in 2016. And since 2014, Catch has operated an offshore team in the Philippines. The video where my team's in VGC McKinley West, supported by KMC team. So I'm very proud of that video, and every time I look at it, it makes me smile. My journey started with Catch in September of 2016, where I was tasked with leading and expanding the offshore operations. Our partner at the time was a BPO. We might touch on that a little bit later around what that means, but it's a do-it-for-you model with 27 customer support staff. We found that we were overpaying and underserved. Our goal at Catch was to build an extension of our business, to have complete control. We needed someone who would allow us, what I call, own it. So we moved away from do it for you to own it. After visiting and assessing over 10 different vendors, KMC stood out as the right partner for Catch. They offered us the flexibility to build and manage the operations and achieve our goals. They allowed us to make the call on who we hired, how we trained our staff, leadership and management, and the world-class business continuity plan. We might touch on that a little bit later with Parry. As a result, we went on to build teams across multiple business areas, including finance, design, marketplace, sales, tech dev, and marketing. So growing from back in 2014 of 27 staff up to 200 till today with KMC. May also share that we also improved our Net Promoter Score by 18 points, and including our customer satisfaction up to 92. So what originally started with a call center customer support division grew into a multidisciplined area, which also increased our lifetime value of our customers significantly. Just some tips when offshoring from myself. It's about choosing the destination. You heard from Jack earlier. He talked about what the Philippines is and stands out with the 35 billion turnover or revenue into the industry for the Philippines, an average age around that 25, 26. So find the destination. The next part I would suggest for you is the right partner. Do your due diligence, visit, meet as many as possible. And then I talk about the setup and getting it right first time. One of my recommendations is to anybody looking to do this for the first time, not totally satisfied with the current operation, is start with a team. Don't start with a person. Build teams. My recommendation is 5 staff, including a team leader to kick it off. You need to also include by sharing your business plan with the team, making sure they're engaged and understand the strategy. Ensure you have prepared the systems, processes, or those SOPs, standing operating processes and principles. Don't just train at the start. You need to do it weekly. You need to do it monthly. And as always with anybody, regular performance feedback is critical. And if you have the time, I really encourage you to visit the Philippines and your team 2 to 3 times a year. That can be shared between yourself and others in your company. And my last sort of tip for success and a critical factor is assigning an onshore manager leader in your country. I'm in Melbourne, Australia. I was very fortunate to have Wayne Rosemeyer by my side, and I cannot thank him enough for the success that we have had and still do in Manila with Catch and KMC. So after many years as a client, I'm now leading the KMC Australian operations, supporting our current clients and businesses when offshoring. Thank you so much again for joining us today and hearing from me and watching my video. I hope you're enjoying the webinar so far. Back to you, Nams.
Thank you so much, Ivan, for, of course, always sharing great insights, but that more than that, the amazing story of growth and expansion with us. And yeah, let's now move to a Q&A where where I'll be inviting the panel to kind of give their insights and share their views. We'd like to have them, of course, share a few things with us as well. So since I being the moderator, I'd like to take the opportunity to ask the first couple questions. And I do see that we have a few good questions coming in our Q&A. So let's wait for that to happen. So I'll start with the first one. Okay. So while there are multiple outsourcing, offshoring models to be considered, how does someone find the best fit for their people and organization? I'll repeat it once again. While there are multiple outsourcing and offshoring models to be considered, how does someone find the best fit for their people and organization?
So Nams, I'll probably take a stab at it. I spoke briefly about this during my trends for 2024. Like I said, there is a curated solution outsourcing model for every business. And let's be candid, it's not a one-size-fits-all approach when you're trying to do this. Jack touched upon certain points. Ivan made a very, very clear case study point. So there is, what you want to kind of say is, you can have a captive operation depending your size, scale, complexity. You can do a third-party outsourcing engagement, which is a comprehensive outsourcing, including your KPIs. You could do an EOR or a core sourcing solution. I think the key part of identifying that solution lies with, to some points that Ivan raised. You have to define the need really upstream in your organization. Look, cost arbitrage is a given. Let's not even bring that to the table. Everybody knows putting an offshore location into the mix will bring you some cost advantages. However, let's also add to that fact that cost arbitrage is also supported by a talent pool which is extremely diverse, extremely resilient, and extremely talented. Sure, there are areas we need to upskill on. To Jack's points earlier, there is an academe initiative ongoing. But when you look at most of the disciplines that we support in the Philippines, there is a huge talent pool. So I think what any organization looking at finding the right partner, finding the right model needs to do is go upstream and define the business objective, understand what they're trying to do in terms of cost, scalability, diversification, BCP, global teams for global companies, and put that into a strategic objective. And then obviously finding the right partner and looking at the size and scale of the organization that you belong to find a company that will also value your business. Not to say larger companies will not, but there is always a fitment issue. So I think it's also about finding this right size and scale of your organization to fit with the right size and scale of companies that can provide that service. And I think it has to be tried and tested. I think Ivan made a great point. You cannot do a proof of concept unless you go visit. So I think a lot of companies have done this and they need to continue to do this. Come visit, spend some time. I know it requires time and investment of money, but doing that right upstream really helps what will happen downstream in the future.
Great, great. Thank you so much. Jack, inviting you. Would you like to share something or would you like to add to Parry's insights? I think
Sure. Parry summarized it extremely well. I particularly like the point on finding the optimal fit. Everyone has different objectives in their offshoring priorities, but I think being very focused on your hierarchy of imperatives, whether it's cost. And I think that's something in common for any locator. But I think finding a long-term partner is key, and that includes selection of location, business partners, your initial contacts, the network that you eventually will need to operate successfully in the Philippines. And there's no substitute, as Parry also said, in visiting here, spending a few meaningful days, meeting the right people, and getting a real sense of the on-ground reality. It's the opportunities have never been, I think, this interesting at this juncture of the industry and the state of technology, but there are also some real challenges that you will need to understand and appreciate to make sure that you decide where in the Philippines I will be, what is the right partnership model. So these are all very relevant factors. So come visit and feel feel the reality of operating in the Philippines.
That's amazing. And, I'm so happy you brought that up because, yes, as you said, there are sometimes people don't know everything. And on that note, I want to ask Ivan this, since we're talking about inviting new clients who probably never, or they're still in the decision-making process. What are your thoughts around what Jack had mentioned? Are companies now, or people more open, let's say from Australia or other parts of Australia, to come and visit, maybe perhaps the Philippines, if they haven't been? What are your thoughts on that, Ivan?
Yeah, absolutely. I've been supporting now KMC for about 5 months, both client and prospects. We have one huge advantage is our time zone to begin with. We're only 3 hours. Manila is, or Philippines is behind only by 3 hours. So time zone for Australia works really well, Nams. Equally, I think culturally, you'll be, really, really quietly surprised that it fits with Aussies. They love a beer, beautiful food. So culture, the time zone, but that in itself is a little bit different, like going to a restaurant but not actually experiencing the meal, not being able to smell the beautiful smells of the food. So from my experience, I'd love to handhold anyone on this call today that would like to visit and get an exclusive tour from me. And maybe we'll have NAMs waiting for you as well. And I think for me, Jack doesn't know this, but the team does. I took my wife for the first time after so many years in the Philippines, and she equally said, "I can see myself living here." So it's when you get your wife telling you that it's a great place, I think that's enough said there. Thanks, Nams.
Thank you. Thanks, Ivan.
I'd like to add one factor, and I've heard this, I've lived and worked now in the Philippines for 18 years and, been part of the industry for 25. And still, a lot of times you're doing, some sort of a road show, you're meeting a big bunch of people, new companies, new founders, new management teams that haven't had an opportunity yet to visit the Philippines. There are sometimes misconceptions or thoughts, and I think some of our intro videos, if our panel or if our attendees got to see, will see the infrastructure is robust. It's mostly safe. Every country has areas that you want to avoid, but it's a very safe environment. It's a large workforce that is very resilient. There'll always be negatives if you want to find in a scenario, and there'll always be positives. If there will be typhoons, yes, there will be typhoons. But we can also tell you, having worked here, that in typhoons, in knee-deep water, you'll see more people walk into office in the Philippines than you'll see anywhere else in the world. So I think the proof is really to go see what is available. Industry bodies like Jack's, IBPAP is there to help you. There are companies like ours and many more that are there to help you. I think it's really important when a management team decides that they want to go down the path of strategic sourcing. I don't want to even call it offshoring, outsourcing, because these are not teams that you have to view as something that you've outsourced and gotten your hands washed off it and you'll watch it every 3 months. This is now a world of inclusive outsourcing where you're engaged every day, especially the kind of models we're seeing emerge in the small and medium enterprise of co-sourcing, where they want to build teams. We're seeing trends where we'll get a 50 people requirement, but it's no longer, I need 50 people of the X discipline. It's now, I need 50 people across 10 disciplines. And one discipline could be 2 people, another discipline could be 5 people, another discipline could be 20 people. So really, I think organizations are now looking at outsourcing, offshoring as a real strategic initiative rather than a cost-saving arbitrage, which it always will be, augmented with the fact that there'll be quality, and the tools and technology today allow us to work seamlessly from anywhere. If you can be remote in Philippines or remote in Australia or remote in India or US, it really doesn't matter where you're working from, as long as you're able to enjoy your work and fulfill what's required of you.
Great. And talking about culture, I do see a couple questions that our attendees are sharing, and it's culture related, but I think I'd like to have Jack address that. So when we talk about cultural alignment and with regards to the workforce, the talent here, Jack, how would you like to, address that? Like, there are companies who are stepping in here, starting with a small team, either they start up or they're scaling up. What are the things how do they align with the culture here? The workforce, how they operate in the organizations. Would you like to share something?
Sure. The best evidence of how adaptive, how accommodating, how flexible culture fit can be is really look at the list of multinationals who have been successfully operating here for decades now. The world's banks are all here. Most of the North American telcos are here. All the US healthcare companies are here. That's 3 different verticals. Not because I happen to be Filipino, but I can't think of a more accommodating, adaptive, flexible culture that is very friendly and open as we are. In that sense, the Philippines, at least in my opinion, sticks out in Southeast Asia. It almost feels like you're not in this part of the world, because you could be the Philippines actually could be in anywhere, and we would not be a misfit wherever you put our archipelago in, and that just shows you how adaptive and open Filipinos are to investors and non-Filipinos. Now, in terms of challenges, I mean, I saw a question there in the Q&A, so I'd like to kind of take a stab at that. I mean, I want to begin first on your mindset when you're considering offshoring and when you're considering the Philippines. No location, has it all and has only advantages, and so you also have to be ready to understand and be flexible enough in meeting some of the initial challenges, and depending on your own background and set of expectations, what might seem to be an impossible hurdle might not be the same hurdle as somebody else. So I think having a clear sense of your priorities in locating and offshoring is important. People have talked about the ease of doing business and tackling bureaucracy. Well, no location, I think, or destination is devoid of that, and the Philippines is no exception. But given the decades of experience, given the list of multinationals that have succeeded in the Philippines, and I can tell you amongst our membership, every single one is looking to expand their Philippines footprint. So I can't present any stronger evidence of the possibility to overcome any bureaucratic or issue of red tape when you decide on the Philippines.
Thanks, Jack. Okay, let me see a few more questions. So somebody is asking, in the Philippines setting, what is usually the challenge for most investors? Is that something that you kind of almost, I think, answered, right?
Yeah, I think Nams, that was very well answered by Jack. Yeah. And I think he said one thing at a very macro level, which is very important, that look, the largest of the financial services, healthcare, telcos, airlines, call it anything, are here. And some people might be sitting there thinking, yeah, because they have deep pockets, they are large organizations, they can make that investment. Absolutely, you're right. But like I was saying earlier, there is a curated, bespoke solution for all. There might be a captive solution for a large bank that has a lot of fiduciary responsibilities, has to follow a very specific level of regulation, and they want to keep it under control, and they have deep pockets and they can set up a captive operation. There are others who say, I need to focus on my core business and I can do a third-party outsourcing agreement. I will watch over it. I'll put vendor managers over it, partners over it, who will look at it on a day-to-day basis. But there are other models that have emerged where you can take non-core functions, keep core functions with you. You can build core source teams. You can do employer of record work where you can get the ability to be semi-captive without having to deal with some of the challenges that will invariably come in every country. And Jack's absolutely right. It might be easy to say, hey, I tried this in the Philippines and it did not work, or I found a partner and they were not good. I think it has to be dissected both ways to say, what did we miss as a company upstream, or what was wrong, or what was missed in our vendor selection or partner selection process? And it's a two-way street. So I think it's really about not rushing into it. If it requires another 30 extra days to do your due diligence, we go out to eat, we look at the menu up and down a few times, we go out to shop, we try on things. It's the same. You cannot make such large executive business decisions. And you want these business decisions to be right, because once you've selected the location and a partner, you're invested. So it's best you spend another 30, 60, 90 days up front, find that right location, whether it's within the Philippines, whether it's outside Philippines, partner choice, model choice, and then get into it, because you want it to sustain for the next decade, 2 decades in perpetuity, because that's where it really starts to give you that return on investment. So I think it's a two-way process. A consultative approach through industry bodies, partners like us, is always available. And I think I encourage anyone who's looking at doing this to come with an open mind and be flexible. To Jack's point, I think that is a very, very important factor.
Great, thank you, thank you. I'm going to take, I think let's just do a quick time check. We're 10:50. I think we have time for another question or two. So somebody from Sydney is asking, saying, I'm interested in understanding how we can identify key success metrics for our offshoring strategy after it has been in operations. Any thoughts or insights on this? So once I think they kickstart, is there anything in specific that they need to look at with regards to the success metrics to make sure that this is
Thanks, Nams. I'll jump in. Hello to Sydney. I'm in Melbourne. We're not far away from each other, so thank you for joining us today. As Parry and Jack have mentioned, there's time and effort in setting up. I really come in strong when we talk about the ongoing management support and team building. So when I think about specifically your success metrics, they're going to be defined by you first and foremost. There's a customer satisfaction metric. There's an employee engagement metric. There's a return on investment metric, the cost modeling, what kind of revenue or dollars we're saving by offshoring. Then we also consider, obviously, hitting all the gates you want in your business objectives. So all of those metrics can be designed by you and with your partner. An example today, KMC, can be the partner that you may want to consider, and we'll align your goals and strategies to achieve everything you're wanting to do with us. So hope that helps.
Thank you. And I'm going to take a quick and easy question, and I think it's very simple, but I think it's extremely important. A lot of companies that start off do have the apprehension on how long or what are the timelines on, or a turnaround time for setting up their team from scratch, how long it would take, say, to hire the first set of maybe non-technical talent that they're looking at, support talent. Would you like to just share something on that? Because those are questions that do come up, and I do see a few people already raising that question. So if either of you can answer that, that'd be great.
I'm happy to go first on that. Look, timelines again really depends on the objective or what is being built. Going back to curated models, there are models that can allow you to build a team, and depending on size, scale, complexity, in 30 days. If you want to build a full-scale captive operation that requires incorporation, setting up an entity and all, obviously it's a long pole in the tent and will take a long time, obviously. I think, again, it's a strategic objective of an organization to identify the needs. What are we trying to solve for? And I will say, once you're in motion, scaling up is an extremely easy thing. Once you've got the wheels in motion, then adding 20 people, 30 people, 50 people a month, 100 people a month, depending on the size scale of the operation anyone is trying to build, is an easy thing, because once the partner's been identified, once the location has been identified, then it's about how fast you want to go and lay the rubber. But really, I think it depends on the model. If you go into a co-sourcing model, if I was to expound a little, if you want to go into a co-sourcing model and you're able to find the right partner, from needs assessment to being able to go live can be as rapid as 30 to 60 days. In terms of doing a third-party assignment, it can take 90 to 180 days, site selection, vendor selection, RFPs, RFIs. You know, there are obviously those considerations to be made. And then if you want to set up a larger operation where there's an entity in the making, obviously there is government bodies and everything else involved, so it can take long. I think there are steps to it always. And I think even the largest of them all, if you look at it to Jack's point earlier, some of the largest banks, some of the largest telcos did not start with where they are today. Everybody started with a model and went to a B model or a C model. They could be in the third stage of their life cycle. So don't get hung up on what will be the perfect one. I think it's about identifying the core need in your business, coming in with that core need with a partner, identifying, and I can tell you, everybody loves to retain business, but also everybody understands solutioning for a client is more important than just the core revenue they can keep. So everybody will guide you towards the right direction of what will be the best for your business. And that's really where we need to go with this.
I'd like to add a little bit to what Parry said, because it is an important question. Because I meet investors all the time, and they all have their different entry points, if I can call it that. And that's really what I want to mention. Your initial set of contacts is key to eventually what will become your Philippine experience. And what I mean by that is the quality of the advice you get in those initial days and weeks. Some people go and meet a legal firm as their first point of contact. Some people call up an accounting firm or a bank. Some people come to my office. I'm not saying which is better, but I think my point is the quality of partner is determined, and your overall experience at the outset is determined by the quality of advice you get, and that is contingent on those initial conversations you have when you set foot in the Philippines. So that's really what I wanted to add.
Thank you. Thanks, Jack. I just, again, want to be mindful. We have 4 minutes, 3 minutes actually before we end, but I'd like to close. Before we close, I'd like to read a positive affirmation or share by one of our attendees, Warren Jones, and he's actually shared it saying, I visited the Philippines the other day and caught up with my team over there, even though they are with different businesses, but they took time out of their Sunday to come visit and absolutely loved having me visit. They put together a whole plan of things to go visit and explore, love showing the city, and I personally absolutely love visiting the Philippines, trying food, including the dirty ice cream. So thank you so much. That already tells us that Philippines is the place to be. So I hope we can see more and more people coming here. And I think moving forward, we are also looking at doing an immersion program. Won't get into that, but like to close off the session by thanking all, of course, Jack, thank you so much for taking the time out, presenting your ideas and your expertise with us, and all of our other hosts and our attendees. We'd like to get your feedback, so if you have some time, please do share your feedback via QR code and link, and hope to see you at our next KMC-Suite webinar. Thank you, and mabuhay.